We're here because free speech is under attack. We're here because people are being convinced that socialism works. We're here because people are being judged guilty until proven innocent. We are fighting back with facts. This is not a safe zone, so buckle up, Buttercup. This is the raw, naked truth.
Criminal evidence against Joe Biden, expanded ground assaults in Gaza, anti-Semitic attacks, deals reached with the UAW, and more. Welcome to the Raw Naked Truth. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin, and here's the news you need to know. The FBI maintained more than 40 confidential human sources on various criminal matters related to the Biden family, including Joe Biden, dating back to his time as vice president, according to information obtained by Senator Chuck Grassley. The confidential human sources provided criminal information to the FBI relating to Joe Biden, James Biden, and Hunter Biden. Those confidential human sources were managed by multiple FBI field offices across the nation, including the FBI's Seattle field office. But Grassley learned that an FBI task force within the Washington field office sought to, and in some cases successfully, shut down reporting and information from those sources by falsely discrediting the information as foreign disinformation. That effort caused investigative activity to cease. However, despite those efforts by the FBI task force, Grassley said in at least one instance, a confidential human source and its information had been verified by multiple U.S. attorneys' offices, which found no hits to known sources of Russian disinformation. Israel began an expanded ground assault of the Gaza Strip on Friday night, with the assault continuing through the day Saturday. The bombardment began with a slew of Israeli armored vehicles that bombed strategic tunnels used by Hamas to move around Gaza. The assault also included ground infantry, and the Israel Defense Force confirmed that soldiers had infiltrated Gaza. The country has expanded the number of airstrikes in Gaza in a very significant way. IDF spokesperson Daniel Hagari said in a statement that Israel has also cut off internet to the Gaza Strip, sending the region into a communications blackout. IDF officials have called for civilians to evacuate the northern area of the Gaza Strip. Israeli forces have also discovered a Hamas safe haven and headquarters located underneath a hospital. In a sign of spreading animosity over the Gaza war, Turkish President Erdogan said Wednesday that Hamas is not a terrorist organization, but a liberation group fighting to free the Palestinians. Turkey, a NATO member, has condemned Hamas's brutal October 7th surprise attack that killed 1,400 people in southern Israel, but also called for Israel to respond with restraint. Erdogan criticized Western leaders for supporting Israel's bombing of Gaza. He called for an immediate ceasefire and safe deliveries of humanitarian aid to Gazans. He also canceled a previously planned trip to Israel. Combined with Turkey's attack on America's Kurdish allies in the past, this has once again raised the question of why is Turkey still in NATO? An anti-Semitic mob stormed the Dagestan airport, where a plane from Tel Aviv had just landed on Sunday. 20 people were injured before Russian security forces could contain the unrest, which forced authorities to temporarily close the airport. Reuters obtained video showing hundreds of pro-Palestinian protesters, most of them young men waving Palestinian flags, running through the airport yelling Allahu Akbar, or God is greatest. Passengers who arrived on the plane were moved to a safe place, according to security forces. The The incident occurred in the capital of Dagestan, a primarily Muslim Russian republic. It was one of several anti-Jewish incidents reported in the region since the Israel-Hamas conflict started. U.S. economic growth more than doubled in the third quarter compared to the previous 3 months, according to the Bureau of Economic Analysis. U.S. GDP grew at an annual pace of 4.9% in the quarter that ended in September, faster than economists had predicted after the 2.1% growth of the previous quarter. Consumer spending fueled the economic resilience despite the Federal Reserve's aggressive campaign to slow the economy with interest rate hikes. Fed Chair Jerome Powell said last week that recent data showing the economy's strength and strong labor demand could put further progress on inflation at risk. Meanwhile, the deficit for the fiscal year 2023 was $1.7 trillion, growing 23% in a single year, as the Treasury used $879 billion just to service the federal debt. But Bidenomics means the worst is yet to come, and multi-trillion-dollar deficits are the new normal. The impetus for these massive deficits is federal government spending, which tipped the scales at $6.1 trillion last year. Government receipts, meanwhile, were $4.4 trillion, short of the $5 trillion previously forecasted. A slowing economy and counterproductive tax increases were key drivers behind the $450 billion drop in receipts from the prior fiscal year. President Biden ordered airstrikes on 2 Syrian sites linked to Iran in retaliation for a string of attacks against U.S. military personnel in Syria and neighboring Iraq, according to the Pentagon. 2 F-16 fighter jets dropped precision munitions on an ammunition depot and a weapons storage facility linked to Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and affiliated groups. The strikes came after nearly 20 attacks on U.S. forces since October 17th that left 21 U.S. service members with minor injuries and fueled concerns that the war between Israel and Iran-backed Hamas could expand. The United States does not seek conflict, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said, but these Iranian-backed attacks against U.S. forces are unacceptable and must stop. The United Auto Workers Union reached a tentative agreement with Stellantis on Saturday to end their strike against the automaker. The deal is a mirror of a similar agreement reached between UAW and Ford this past week, and reportedly includes additional concessions beyond what had initially been discussed. This includes significant pay and wage increases, as well as new products for an idled assembly plant in Illinois. While Ford and Stellantis have now essentially ended their strikes, UAW's walkout against General Motors remains in place and was expanded Saturday to additional plants after negotiations with the other 2 companies didn't move the needle at GM. That's the Raw Naked Truth. You can catch every episode of The Raw Naked Truth at xvadio.com/podcasts, the Apple Podcasts app, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Amazon Music, and other platforms that respect freedom of speech. We'll see you next time.